I'm Tiamo Malachi.
And welcome to our first episode of Kovsie TV News.
Kovsie TV News is a student platform connecting all important activities on campus to you, the student, for all things noteworthy. We're the campus plug.
Today on studio, we'll be joined by the different student representatives, where they'll be stating their views on the hashtag Steyn must fall issue.
At the beginning of this year, the University of the Free State Student Representative Council renewed calls for the removal of the statue of Steyn. This follows calls from as far back as April 2015, which were inspired by the Roads Must Fall movement in Cape Town. In 2018, the University of the Free State, in line with the Integrated Transformation Plan, has opened up a consultation process to the public to get opinions on whether or not the Steyn statue should be removed. For today's conversation, we're going to hear these views on hashtag Steyn must fall. So Steyn was the sixth and final president of the Orange Free State at the end of the 19th century. And for many people, he's a polarizing figure on campus, creating lots of discussion and contention. The first question today is to ask each of our panelists what their views are and whether or not the Steyn statue should be removed or whether it should stay. Starting my left.
Okay, I think for us to have a clear view on whether we should move for the removal or the sustaining of the statue of Mr. President Steyn, I think first we must look into the character and who the person is. This man, history tells us that he's actually one of the people that were legally educated. He was regarded as one of the attorney generals. And the era in which he was an attorney general was an era in which apartheid was governing, like a ruling prescriptive. It was a system that was currently governing the country. So now, for people to then see someone to be a fitting president in that era, it shows that that man harbored values that were in line with the oppression of black people as the apartheid movement was actually representing. So to look at that, means they had trusted him with the capacity and the ability to be able to oppress black people. That is why they saw him as a fit candidate to succeed his predecessor as in the presidential candidate. And we also find that he's also a co-founder of this apartheid system that was there. He was an architect of it together. He was not only a person that joined the movement on, he formed part of the formation of that system. So his criminology intelligence gave him the ability to then orchestrate that criminal system against black people. So in that sense, we cannot be subjected to always see him there and celebrating, because when you erect something like a monument of that nature, you erect it purposely for purposes of celebration. It's when we see it, we remember the things that people stood for, and then we are celebrating and commemorating that view. Just like the one of Mandela that is there.
So Jerry, I think we want to also hear some of the other panelists.
Okay.
So we'll continue the conversation.
Mr. President,
SRC, as led by the Progressive Youth Alliance by SASCO, have called for the removal of the president of the statue. It's very much simple. The statue, it goes, as my co-panelist has mentioned, as sponsored by SASCO, those views are sponsored by SASCO as we have led this campaign, is that the men and the values that he represents do not align with those that we aspire, one as an institution but also as a society. I could go, because of time, I could go on and give you a whole background of why a person of such Steyn does not have a place in a society like ours. But for now, I imagine that as the conversation progresses, I'll be given that opportunity. But for now, I will just maintain that the values that are represented in the statue of Martina Steyn do not align with those that we embody as a democratic, non-sexist, and non-discriminatory society. Thank you for some details.
and the chairperson of the forum have clearly stated because of his values and what he stood for, they think that Steyn must fall. So what's your take on that?
We understand the implications with him being linked to the being a founder of the Nationalist Party, and apartheid was only claimed to have started in 1948 with Verwoerd, but it had been in process with the British Empire being in power as they were colonialists. One thing is, we believe as African in mutual recognition and respect of everybody's cultures and religions. And so we feel he has a place on campus as it is part of our heritage, it's part of South Africa's heritage. It does not mean that we say, okay, he has to stay and nobody gets to express or build or rename buildings to accommodate everybody's heritage. Everybody has a right to be represented on this campus. So we feel he should stay because he is significant to the Free State and to this university.
Okay, so may I ask, so seeing that Steyn is the center of the university, do you think that being in that position, does he represent both the black and the white students?
I understand, and with the discussion that we had last week, it's given me a better perspective. And yes, I understand it feels as if he's imposing on students' dignity, especially black students. So I understand how students feel, and possibly he should be moved, but we still feel he deserves a place on campus.
Okay, EFF, what do you guys have to say about students who are for staying, not for black students in particular?
Well, we understand that, for us to understand this issue of staying, there is a need that we have people that can prescribe it and in a way that students can understand, prescribe it to them and describe it and give them resilience as to why staying must follow. In the first place, when you come here, a student who's not even inclined politically, who's not inclined to the history of South Africa, they don't even know what that station represents. So what they need to do is we need to be able to educate our student society to say that the reason you see that man there is because he was erected there for this purpose and this purpose. And once you see him there, he represents these values and these values, so that we can bring them to a common understanding that as he stands there, it's not just the statue that's standing only there. Because most of, especially black students, who really don't understand the move of us removing that man there, it's because they don't really know what he represents. They just think he's just a statue and a picture that is just placed there. But if we can take our time, articulate it to the students, and tell them that man as he stands there, he represents this kind of values, I believe that intellectual enough to understand that as he stands there, he doesn't really represent the demographics of this institution.
I want to go back to Chantal. I want to ask you, because in 2016, the statue of Charles Robert Swart, Sierra Swart, was removed from the university. Is there any feeling amongst people in any community on campus that the university has lost anything after the removal of that statue?
We were not happy with the way it was done. We feel that it was very disrespectful in the way it was broken apart and stuff. If there was a discussion where we needed to, it was something that needed to be spoken about, and an opportunity like this would be great, because we know that Sierra Swart was actively involved with apartheid, so we understand why students wanted the removal, especially after what had happened on Shanghai. But that part of history, see, it's all about the story. I mean, President Steyn fought against colonization, and I mean, this is what all universities are facing now, is the process of decolonizing their institutions. So it might not be exactly the way that our campus is moving in right now, but he served his people till he died. There's other values. We're not trying to relive apartheid or glorify apartheid because we know it was wrong. That's not at all what we're saying. So we need to keep monuments, statues like this as part of history. And it's our, how can I say this? It's our half purpose to educate students and our fellow youth members of the history of South Africa. And I'm not saying just a certain story. Both sides need to be heard, and I think it's significant for the Free State that the entire Free State's history be explained. And
do you think that that must be located at the university or at a museum?
The university is a place of learning. So I feel museum, yes, you can go if you want to learn about history, but the university is a place of learning as well, and where you also come to learn who you are and where you come from. So it could also provide students with that aspect that they don't know.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on that. You see, the nature of racism is that it's illogical. I will tell you why. You see, cognitive dissonance says, I recognize that C.R. Swart was, I will use a very loose term here, was a bad man. He was intricately involved in apartheid. He did these bad things. However, I am not happy that you would be. Why would you not be happy that a tyrant or a statue of a tyrant has been removed? However, you recognize that that person is a tyrant. So it shows you that it comes from a very conservative, racist place to say that, no, I recognize that this person has been responsible for mass murdering and mass massacre of people. However, I'm sad that we have removed him. Because you cannot admit that Swart was a tyrant and then say, no, I'm sad how Swart was removed. So this is exactly what is happening with this title. It is not that they speak that he was a liberator. A liberator for who? Who did he liberate? We must ask ourselves, who did Steyn liberate? And and of those people that he liberated in this community are the people that he liberated them. Does that what is the expense of that? At what expense was that liberation to the majority of the society now at large? It's a very, so we must be able to ask those things because it's like a criminal who robs, kills people so that he can steal a car, sell it and buy food for his family. That person is a criminal, but he did it in liberation of his family. Does that justify the crime because he did it in liberation of his family? Should we then praise that criminal just because his family, out of the people that he robbed, he was able to liberate them? No, so those things are very important. And we must be able to look at society at large, not our narrative. This is a public institution, not someone's private house. So in it's fine, a private house, you can do that, but this is a public institution. So which means the greater good to the greatest extent for the greater community.
Final question, Chantal. I think we're giving you a chance to answer Sylvia's question and also clarify for the EFF what you really meant by your
We do not feel, I've never heard of somebody coming onto the university grounds and paying to see the statue. But I don't know where you get that. But many people, it's part of, okay, many alumni graduated with him being there, I understand, that you don't want it there and you wanted to move. He was the founder, he started the Women and Children's Home Memorial here in Brooklyn for the women and children who died in concentration camps. Concentration camps weren't just solely white women and children. And there's additions to the museum as well for what has happened in South Africa, changing from apartheid to a democratic country. Nelson Mandela's quotes are there, which I haven't been to the entire museum, but it's significant. So he could move to that museum which he founded. Also, I'm not saying we're racist, and that is not okay, but I understand it's your opinion. We're not doing it to celebrate apartheid. We're literally, it's part of our heritage. As a result of, yes, I understand if you can say that, but then we can look at Andrew Zorn who planted a bomb in a man's treaty and killed people. His name is on that street, the street is named after. We can go back to many freedom fighters who have been renowned for their acts in liberating South Africa from apartheid and what they did, but we're not. So, yeah.
Then Sylvia, also your final views, also keeping in mind that you stated that they are willing to put those statues in the museums like you stated.
Yes, no, they must go to the museum. I think I've exhausted that point. We must never, I don't want to agree with my colleague there when they say, in the core and in the DNA of AfriForum is absolutely racism. That one is unapologetic, but I will tell you why. You can never compare You see, she's comparing, they are comparing the liberation of South Africa to the liberation of Africana. The liberation of South Africa is precisely the reason that after liberation, there was never a civil war against white people who had waged war against black people. The liberation that was brought by these names that you mentioned, they planned it because you see, as Thomas Sankara said, and he speaks of the ideology that governs the soldier. And so basically, what is there was an ideology and there was a purpose, and the purpose was that they might liberate South Africa in its entirety, such that all citizens, in fact, those acts would happen, if you read the history properly, after the writing of the Freedom Charter. A Freedom Charter that already stated that everyone who lives in the land will be equal in the land that they live in. So that liberation, in fact, even liberated you from yourselves. So you can never compare that liberation. The liberation, they did a good thing by bombing those stations, bombing those, if they had not bombed those things, South Africa would have said, in fact, you would still be oppressing us as black people if they had not done that. So they did not only liberate us as black people, they even liberated you and ensured that to the voice of the far leftists who said white people must leave the country after liberation, that they do not leave. Meaning that you yourself, as of European descent, would not even be here in Africa had it not been for them. So you must thank those people for bombing, because today you are in Africa, in a beautiful land.
Yeah, just one last point. I just wanted to comment on something that Ms. Chantal referred to when she said that there was a statue that was here. I don't remember the name of the statue that was here, which was speaking about. That was removed in a radical manner. And then she said there that it was disrespectful and it was not supposed to be removed in that way and all those kind of things. I feel like, we must understand that these people that orchestrated all these statues and museums, some of them were legal personnel. And then being legal personnel, some of these things, they were ensuring that they protect them by law. Like what we are faced with that statue is protected by the Heritage Act. So we must appreciate that from time to time, when we try to achieve transformation, we are going to be in constant conflict with the law, because those things were constructed under minds and mentalities that were very much inclined with the law. So from time to time, we are going to use radical measures to ensure that transformation in the end is achieved.
We'd like to thank our panelists for joining us for today's discussion, and you, the audience, for tuning in. The University of the Free State is going to continue the public participation on the Steyn statue, and we invite you to participate. My name is Tsiamu Malachi.
And I'm Kubego Noila.
And this was Kovsie TV News.
Your campus flag.